also, I'm thinking of My Name is Red, a novel about 16th century Islamic painters sort of looking at the Renaissance, looking at precisely the show that was so spectacular at the MFA this past summer of Titian, Tintoretto, and the other guy. And this was...
Veronese, I think, right?
Veronese, indeed. But the story, again, you not only entered the world in which art is a carrier of these viruses and these tensions, but also art, in your case, is a way of addressing these differences.
Yes, of course. There is a point there that as I think Henry James said to Ford Madox Ford when he was trying to write, and he was a bit patronizing him, he said, dramatize, dramatize, said Henry James to Ford Madox Ford, implying that not only you pay attention to daily life, but find a drama in it and exaggerate that drama. That is one of the points of writing novels about art, that time passes quickly. We don't see, I'm sorry, time passes slowly, what a lapsus. We don't see things, but drama, dramatization, a sort of exaggeration of the change of time and how things change is needed to make it clear that people see things such as pre-Renaissance miniature painting and post-Renaissance Italian and global world painting, their differences, the attitudes of drawing and looking, the consequences of this kind of painting, that kind of painting, and the philosophical consequences of representing things that or this way. Yes, you dramatize, but on the other hand, one also pays attention to smells and sounds of daily life. One pays attention to beauties of the picture itself. It is a balance. But you're right, yes, I dramatize a bit of a clash of East and West, but again, I do not do it. I would say this 15 or 20% of my mental energies go into it. The rest is getting the daily life right, giving the feeling of authenticity of human motives, how it feels, how it feels to be alive in this corner of the world, especially this Museum of Innocence. I try to not dramatize East-West clash of this or that topical subjects, but then it's about a man falling in love with his twice removed cousin so much that he cannot get out of love. This is the story.
Mm. Do you mind one more question?
No, we can, whatever. Maybe we take questions from the audience.
Sure. But I'm thinking of the character, maybe several characters in My Name is Red who quotes the Quran, in effect saying East and West. To God belong East and West. And it's sort of the kind of ecumenical, or should we say open source moral of the tale. In what sense, even now, as things can get worse in Turkey, worse in Iraq, or in Afghanistan, or in Iran, in the world, in what way does art bridge or mitigate or ameliorate this often constructed and artificial difference?
I don't know. There's no Afghanistan, no Iraq in my novel. I don't think it will ever be. This is a novel of a upper-class guy's infatuation with a girl, and it follows this story. Maybe we answer some questions from the audience.
Please.
Good evening. I was very touched by your reading. My name is Olga Eldek Turkot. I was born and raised in Turkey, and I was a young girl at the time the time you're talking
Please
about.
ask the questions fast.
Yes.
So that,
Well, I just wanted to give you the background, but I was also struck by how much emphasis you put on the physical aspect of love.
yes, thank you.
And could you talk a little, my question is, does your book talk also about the spiritual, the mind, and the soul aspect of love?
Yes, but then there's, to make a distinction between, Platonic distinction between mind and body, mind aspect of the love and the body aspect of the love is, I think, a bit artificial. In fact, at one point in my novel, the character is deeply involved, cannot see what's happening to him. Then he has a conversation with a friend. In a casual way, he actually grasps the meaning of his love, that he had enjoyed sex with this girl in a very happy way, then could not get away with it because he loses the girl. Then if you ask me, I think love is, of course, deeply related to what you call body, sex, whatever. But what we call mind is also chemical. But then we have philosophy, we have history of psychology, these things influence us, and we think there is a body and there is a non-body mind. They are very close to each other. We all, that's why we take chemical pills, and chemistry changes our thoughts. I think the mind and body distinction, one of the great inventions of Western philosophy, and is a great idea, but after a while, even understanding what happened to you when you're in love is misleading, really. You think it's all spiritual or mind, but actually there is a very chemical, very hormonal thing in it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Hi. My question is, in my opinion, Kemal has obsessive-compulsive disorder.
Wow.
I'm a physician.
Good. Disorder. Let me answer that.
Yes. So, do you think is love kind of an obsession, or this guy has this disorder and that's why he loves obsessively?
A good question. First, he may be, you're using psychological language, but I'm not, it's not, I don't look at my character through that prism. In fact, after I published the book, I did lots of interviews, Turkey, outside, never used, even tried to not to use the word obsessive, which is rather weaker or more nicer than obsessive whatever, compulsive whatever. That in fact, that my point is this, that I'm going to tell a story of a man deeply infatuated by love, but would make the reader think that, well, he is exactly like me. That was the challenge of my book. Instead of treating him as a medical victim or a man sick. I don't think he is sick. The only problem, the only strange thing he does, I think everyone falls in love, as I describe in the book, in a cool manner, or I did my best. But after a while, we are mature people, we get out of love. We fall out of love, while he cannot. But even so, he always, in these 8 years when he is deeply in love, he always thinks that, well, yes, I'm badly in love, but I'm going to get out of this situation in 2 weeks and or either get the girl or return to my normal life. Don't worry, Kemal, I'm going to solve this problem. And this gives him hope. And I think in one of my little passages, that gave me hope, and that made things continue. So he always has a hope of getting the girl or falling out of love. Of course, we can approach him through medical concepts, but I'm no doctor, madam. I'm a novelist.
I do get obsessive when I am in love, actually.
2 more questions, please.
There have been some accusations of plagiarism made against you concerning the works of other authors, including Norman Mailer.
Plagiarism?
According to Wikipedia, the last time I checked it, which is a couple of hours ago, you have not responded publicly to these accusations. Is that true, and would you care to do so now if that is true?
They're not true. Okay, I'll take the next question.
That's the answer. The answer is no. Thank you.
Thank you for coming to speak. I do have one question about the novel. I just finished it on Monday. And I was wondering why you didn't at any point allow the woman Fusun to talk about her experience. I thought it was very interesting that it was just always through Kemal.
Okay, good question. I carried this question like a guilt, all as I wrote the novel all through years. There are technical problems, there are philosophical problems, then let me go into that. Her question is, here is a love novel of 560 pages, told by the point of view of a man, first person singular, right, after 30 years, but we don't hear the voice of the girl enough or something like that?
Yeah, just, it's always from his point of view, and the funny thing about love is you need...
The second person.
The second person, yeah.
This question I also been asked before in one of my earliest novels, which is not translated yet to English, in Silent House. There are also, the structure is such as that. We don't see another mysterious girl. We don't go into her spirit. This is a main problem about all novelists, or this is a problem about the nature of writing stories, identifying with someone who is not like you. Here, the problem was whether to tell the story through the point of view of Füsun or him. Once I made the decision that I will tell the story through the point of view of the male character, yes, in the end, you can never see the inner thoughts of the other character. That is how the story is structured. But I'm not guiltless in this. When you make technical decisions, narrative decisions about your book, you're also making decisions that would raise exactly the question you raised. I agree with your question. I found it essential to the structure of my novel. The only answer I can give is that it was inevitable. Then I also, if I made her speak, then it would be entirely different novel. My greatest wish is that I have been telling this in the last 5 years, and I would do it before I die. I want to write a novel, first person, singular, told by a woman, a girl, whatever, and will do my best so that rightfully readers will forgive me for being a man in the end.
It's not that I have an issue with the gender, it's just I wondered if that was reflective of all love stories.
I'm sorry.
I just wondered if that was reflective of all love stories. You always hear just from one person's point of view, whoever is telling the story. And so was that something that you did purposefully? You had to make a decision, but it's
this novel required that. Also, in the end, I don't want to give the ending. There are also...
I already finished it.
So I can't give the ending. So the novel is being narrated 30 years later. Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Thank you for the questions. Thank you for the answers.
Okay, shall we finish?
We're done.